In what has been a grueling NBL1 East season, we finally have made it through to the Women's Grand Final, and we have a classic matchup on our hands. The veterans and the experience of the Manly Ringer Seagulls taking on the young guns and the hyper-athleticism of the Centre of Excellence. It is going to be an excellent matchup. So let's look into the 2025 NBL1 East Women's Grand Final here on 2 Fit into Pain. It has all come down to this, Manly taking on the Centre of Excellence. Of course, Manly finishing the season as the minor premiers. The Centre of Excellence in 5th place, but they have been in red-hot form, especially after the Under-19s Gems World Cup silver medal. We'll get into all of that in a moment. But just a quick apology for the audio quality. Had to record this one on my second mic in an external location. So forgive the audio quality. Just wanted to get a show out about this Ripper Grand Final ahead. Let's take a look how Manly ended up in the Grand Final after going 18-2. The best record in the men's and women's competition. The Manly Ringer Seagulls finished the season with a huge winning streak, only dropping 2 games in the season, which just goes to show the quality of this Manly side. In the first round of the finals, in the qualifying finals, they beat the Albury Bennets 100-84. A quality game, but ultimately Manly were just too good, and at this time of year, they've just been rolling. I mean, Albury Bennets are no slouch of a program, but Manly managed to just put the defensive clamps on most of the Albury Bandits side. Now, the Bandits' big 3 did have a decent game. They did put up some good numbers, but Manly forced them to do a lot of work. And I think eventually that exhausted the Bandits' top players. But that's how Manly have become so successful this year. It is that grinding team defense. They do not take a possession off. On the other side of their great defensive effort, there's also some great shooting on their team. They had 13 threes in this game, led of course by Taylor Wirtz, who's second in MVP voting this season. She's been absolutely phenomenal. The import in her first year with Manly had 27 points in this matchup. Kim Dickinson, wow, 18 points, 13 rebounds. We'll get back to Kim in some later segments, but we've got a lot to say about the captain of the Seagulls. Alex Delaney was in great form as well in the qualifying final, 20 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists and 2 steals, so doing it all, Alex Delaney. Of course, it's always a huge spread for not just the starting 5, but going deep into the bench for the Manly Ringer Seagulls, but that unit, they've been playing together for so long, and that chemistry just shows out there offensively and defensively. So they got the win against the Albury Bandits to advance through to play the Newcastle Falcons. Both these sides have been 2 of the premier sides, not just this year, but the last 4 years of NBL1 East. And this game did deliver, but you got to say, Manly's defensive effort just came back again. Newcastle didn't even crack above 18 points in any of the quarters, and none of the Newcastle starters shot above 41%. They held Nicole Munger, the MVP, to 30%. And this is why you can see the Manly Ringer Seagulls are the first in the league in defensive rating, but also offensively a huge performance from Taylor Wirtz. 21 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists. Kim Dickinson doing it again, almost getting the double-double, but 21 points, 9 rebounds, 2 assists as well. Josie Bullman, a consistent contributor to this Manly side, one of their underrated and unsung heroes, had 13.7 rebounds in this game as well and did a great job when she had to switch on to Nicole Munger and the other bigs of the Newcastle Falcons. Zoe Miller had 14 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals and 2 blocks. So you look at that starting 5 for Manly, they all just fill it up, and not just in the points categories, but rebounds, assists, steals. They do it all by committee, and I think this is why this is such a difficult team to stop. That suffocating defense, all the players can rotate and they can switch positions, which gives you so much versatility out there. And really, it's hard for the opposition to create a mismatch. And we saw that in this game against the Newcastle Falcons. Getting the win there to punch their ticket through to the grand final. You can't say that's an easy run to the grand final. The Bandits and Newcastle, again, 2 of the top 4 teams, not just this year, but in every season of NBL1 East. So Manly definitely haven't had to do it easy, but every occasion in both those finals, they rose to the challenge. Now moving over to how the Centre of Excellence ended up in the grand final. They had to do it the hard way, starting from the 5th seed, finishing the season with a 12-8 record. and they had to go the long way. First round, we'll get that over and done with. They beat the Canberra Nationals. It wasn't even close, 74-44 to go through to face the Albury Bandits as well. You see this a lot in these final systems. Teams have to beat the same teams on their way to the grand final. So it's interesting little comparison to see how they both go against a high quality team like the Albury-Wodonga Bandits. But against a tough Albury side, they won in a narrow 73-75 win. Despite losing the second and third quarter, they came home so strong in the fourth quarter and snatched it thanks to a clutch performance from Zara Russell, hitting huge shots and getting it to the line. Let's have a look at Zara Russell's performance. 22 points, 7 rebounds, and 2 assists in that game, but also complemented quite well by Amelia Dakic. 12 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals. We'll see if Amelia Dakic will suit up in the grand final. She didn't suit up against the Norths in the prelim, which we're about to talk about. So fingers crossed we'll see Amelia Dakic back in the lineup. In that game as well, Issy Smith had some huge shots in the fourth, as well as Olivia Alechevich, 18 points, 5 rebounds in that performance. One of the youngest players in the COE program. She is been huge in this final stretch of the season, Olivia. So plenty of weapons stepping up in that Albury-Wodonga game. So unlucky for the Bandits just going down. But when it came to free throws and shooting percentage as well, they did struggle in that regard. And that's a credit to the Centre of Excellence's suffocating defence. It's those young legs as well that come back and can hold on in the fourth quarter. And they had a very similar game against Norths in the preliminary final the week after. A tough matchup. It's not easy to beat Norths. It's especially not easy to beat the Bears at the Bear Cave. But the Centre of Excellence held North. They stayed neck and neck for the first 3 quarters. It was an absolute arm wrestle. Neither of these teams giving an inch or taking an inch. But in the fourth quarter, the Centre of Excellence stormed home so convincing, hitting their shots and holding North to 30% shooting and only 4 of 30 from the 3-point line. So that Centre of Excellence hassling defence coming in handy again. They have the same thing as Manly, where they have so much defensive versatility in their team. A lot of these athletes are fast, strong, tall, so they can switch out on guards, protect the paint. They can do a bit of everything defensively, and that showed in this game against the North Bears. Again, Zara Russell stepping up, 18 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. Sataya Fagan, 16 points, 11 rebounds, and hit 2 big threes in this game as well. Issy Smith, she was on fire from the 3-point land as well, had 16 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. And Olivia Alechevich, 10 points, 3 rebounds, and some huge threes as well. They didn't shoot that great from 3-point land, but they hit some timely threes to break droughts. There was some times in that game where their offense was stagnating a little bit and players would just step up, hit a 3, which is so demoralising for the North Bears. So for the first time in the history of NBL1 East, the COE punched their ticket through to the grand final. 2 quality performances against the Bandits and the Bears on their way to the grand final, and it's amazing to see these young talented players. They always do so well during the regular season, but due to international tournaments and players going off to college, sometimes they struggle in the finals. Even last year having to pull out of the finals, so to see them go all the way to the grand final is a testament to that program, and especially a testament to this playing group and the amount of talent they have at the moment. Now let's have a look at how these teams matched up during the regular season. They had 2 matchups, starting with one really early in the year, on March 29th, where Manly Ringer made the trip down to the AIS, to the Centre of Excellence, and they took the victory 80-65. And this one wasn't even really that close, looking at the box score, especially as the game went along. Look at Manly just put their foot on the pedal. Centre of Excellence did win the third quarter, 21-15, but Manly ran away with it in the final quarter, 19-8 to finish the game. Some promising performances from the Centre of Excellence players. Sataya Fagan at 20 points, 10 rebounds, just setting the tone for what was going to be a huge year for her. Amelia Dakic as well, the captain that game, 16 points. Zara Russell with 11. Again, we're going to hear these names a lot throughout this video, but that core group for the Centre of Excellence has been doing some seriously heavy lifting. Meanwhile, for the Manly Ringer Sea Eagles, it was Kim Dickinson, 25 points and 7 rebounds, taking the Centre of Excellence to school that day down in Canberra. Leading scoring for the Manly Ringer Seagulls, Taylor Wirtz as well. 20 points that game. Really started to set the tone, and I think you see that sometimes when the veteran players take on the centre of excellence. They got all the tricks in the book. Taylor Wirtz taking advantage there down in Canberra. A very solid performance all round from the Manly Ringer Seagulls, and this is just a sign of things to come for the Seagulls. They've had such a dominant year, taking care of business on both sides. Then fast forward to July 19 at the Bisque. It was at a lot closer game with the Manly Ringer Seagulls winning 75-71, but you got to give Centre of Excellence a lot of... In this matchup, they were missing all their GEMS players, so a lot of younger players in the Centre of Excellence program having to step up, and step up they did. Issy Smith had 29 points, 5 rebounds and 3 assists. Just lit it up. Incredible numbers from the young gun. Shot 52% that day out, and also hit 5 threes. Issy Smith could be the X factor in this grand final, mark my words. She's going to be a big, not just in these finals, but for years and years to come. Olivia Alechnovic, 23 points, 5 rebounds as well. Those two young guns coming through the COE program stepped up big time. It pretty much put the team on their back offensively. Of course, the role players around them did help out, but those two carried a huge load to keep competitive with the Manly Ringer Seagulls, which is no easy feat. In the first half of this game, they hung around with the Manly Ringer Seagulls, but in the third, Seagulls did start to pull ahead. COE put a huge run on in the final quarter, even winning the fourth quarter 21-13, but all in all, Manly's class showed, and they held on home court in front of a huge home crowd, as we've become accustomed to expect at the Nest. The atmosphere's been great in that new grandstand. So all in all, an improved performance by the Centre of Excellence in that second game, but Manly's still shining through. Let's have a look at the key matchups heading into the grand final, and I think this one is pretty obvious. It's Sataya Fagan taking on Kim Dickinson. Now, I cannot wait to see these two players go head to head. There is so many parts of each other's games that remind me of the other player. Fagan and Dickinson just have similar play styles. They can do a bit of everything. For bigs, they're extremely athletic, versatile, strong. They're great on the offensive end, inside and outside, great defensively. But let's have a look at the season Fagan has had, and it has been historic. One of the best seasons we've seen from a player in the women's competition, let alone a player who is still in the youth category. Fagan didn't play in game 2 against Manly, of course was off with the Gems. In that round 1 matchup, had 20-10 and shot 50% against Manly. So not a whole lot of track record to go off in this matchup against Dickinson. But for Fagan, she's had an incredible season. Defensive Player of the Year, Youth Player of the Year, 4th in MVP voting and a Star 5 selection. She's pretty much done it all, and for such a young player, she's going to be buying a new trophy cabinet soon. I don't think we've seen a young big take over the NBL1 East like Sataya Fagan has, and coming on leaps and bounds from her season last year with the Centre of Excellence, has just become an absolute superstar. And of course, there's a lot of hard work that goes into it, but you got to also give the coaching staff a lot of credit. I think down at the Centre of Excellence, they managed to get the best out of Fagan, and her game is developing at a rate where she is going to be a huge name in Aussie basketball for decades to come. On the season, she is averaging 23 points, 10 rebounds and 2 steals. That's that defensive edge coming through there. Is great at reading passing lanes, using that wingspan and that speed and agility. They run a shotgun play with her where the point guard will hand off to her and she'll just charge down the middle of the lane and try to get a shot up or try to draw a foul. So it's going to be interesting to see how Manly switch or if they stick in that situation. Of course, if anyone can shut down Fagan, it can be Kim Dickinson, who I think is having arguably one of the best seasons of her career. It might not be showing up in the stat sheet, but all round, Kim Dickinson had a few injury troubles last season. I think came back this season more focused, in better shape than ever, and is putting up some phenomenal numbers. Kim Dickinson is a player who fits that Manly identity perfectly. She's so versatile, can switch onto guards in the pick and roll situation, which I think is going to be very helpful against such a quick side like Centre of Excellence, but also can get down in the paint, get your rebounds, and tie things up down there. Again, Manly almost play positionless basketball, so that's why Kim fits perfectly into the system, but ultimately you do need a big, when push comes to shove, to do the dirty work in the paint, and she really is their sole out-and-out centre Even though kind of prefers to play power forward, but with a play of that skill, she can cover multiple positions. Offensively as well, Kim can pop out and hit the three, which I think will stretch things out. Dickinson can hopefully pull Fagan out of the lane a little bit, which will open up cutting lanes and open up driving lanes for her Manly Ringer Seagulls teammates. That's going to be very helpful and another X factor for Manly. If you can get the Defensive Player of the Year out in the perimeter, you can get a clear lane to the basket without the scary prospect of Fagan gunning the ring, then that's a huge help. And Kim Dickinson can also knock that three down, so she'll definitely keep the defence honest. The mid-ranger, some say it's a lost art in the game of basketball, but Kim Dickinson is just automatic. Automatic. Don't even think about it. Don't even second guess it when she pops up from the mid-range. Maybe cheated here. We've got two key matchups. And I think the point guard battle is also going to be very key. We know the wing players of both these sides are effective, but both these sides kind of play positionless besides the point guard and the centre. So we're talking about Zoe Miller and Issy Smith, who for me have extremely similar play styles. They're kind of longer, more athletic point guards, and they can just do everything. Hard-nosed, quick defenders, backed up with shooting, driving, distributing. Got huge raps on both these point guards. Starting with Zoe Miller, 9 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, which is a little down from usual for Zoe Miller, but in a team like this for Manly, there'll be games where she steps up for 20 points, and then the next week she'll step up and get you 10 rebounds, or the next week she'll get you 10 assists. That's the beauty of Zoe Miller's game. She can kind of slot in anywhere, and it's a very team-first play, which I think Nate Kerwin really stresses, and you can see throughout the Manly lineup. They have a lot of team-first kind of players. She's great at getting downhill on a high pick and roll situation, great at putting pressure on the defense and getting the defense to collapse, which is great for setting up the many shooters of Manly or looking for dump-offs for cutters like Taylor Wirtz or for Josie Bullman, Alex Delaney or Kim Hodge as well. Zoe Miller is a keen and willing distributor as well, but using that athleticism to just get downhill and put pressure on defense. In fact, the only game we saw from Zoe Miller live this year against Norths, she had 5 of 7 from three-point land. So can also stretch the floor, Zoe Miller. So really has so many weapons in her arsenal. And she's going to have her hands full this week against Issy Smith, who is so dynamic. We were talking a little earlier about that run of games where the Gems players were missing away at the World Cup, and Issy Smith stepped up big time. I mean, we talked about her 29 points last time she faced Manly, but on the season she's averaging 13 points and 5 rebounds, which is pretty impressive considering how deep the Centre of Excellence run. She's also really started to knock down that three-point shot. That lefty is looking efficient, and you can tell she's put in countless hours in the gym working on that. It's looking like a smooth, quick and efficient stroke now. So Issy Smith, adding that to her dynamic driving game, which we'll get back to in a second, but if she can knock down that three-pointer, that's huge for the Centre of Excellence. Again, doing what we're saying Zoe Miller can do for the Manly Ringer Seagulls, which is spacing the floor to open things up for cutters or driving in, looking to kick the ball out for shooters, looking for cutters and looking for those dump-offs as well. Issy Smith is so athletic, and it's great to have one of those point guards who can just get downhill, draw defensive attention, put pressure on the defense immediately, and then you kind of run off that. Both these teams are very versatile and dynamic, so just to get that first kind of movement in the defense from that dribble penetration or looking around that pick and roll situation opens up things for everyone. Let's check in with our keys to the game, what is going to be the X factor on both sides. And for me, I've picked Who Shoots Wins, which is proudly sponsored by our sponsors Who Dares Wins with Mike Whitney, coming back to Channel 7 soon.
Can a grandfather tackle this swing?
Hang on.
Plus a dare that's wet, wild and out of sight. And your chance to drive away one of 3 brand new Holdens on Who Dares Wins, 7 o'clock tonight on Channel 7.
This grand final is going to be all about the three-point shooting. Now, we know both teams are very dynamic defensively, but when it comes to the three-point shot, there's so many weapons on this team. Now, it's finally time to talk about Taylor Wirtz. An all-star kind of season. Was unlucky to miss out on MVP, but of course Nicole Munger taking that one. Taylor Wirtz can still hold their head high. The runner-up in MVP voting in such an intense competition, so many talented players. She's been such an X-factor for this Manly Ringer Seagull side. Reminiscent of Jolene Anderson 2 years ago with the North Bears, taking an established side to the next level. Giving him that X factor, that edge, that go-to scorer. Taylor Wirtz has provided it all for the Manly Ring of Sea Eagles, and I think is going to be a huge X factor in this grand final, especially considering her experience is going to be quite unfazed coming into the game. Had plenty of big games throughout her career, so she's going to bring that experience, but also the three-point shooting. She had 6 3-pointers in their last matchup against the COE. In that game, the Manly Ring of Sea Eagles had 12 3-pointers. They love to get the threes up thick and fast. Wirtz also had 6 3-pointers in their last game, their win against the Newcastle Falcons. So a player who can give you 5+ threes a game is so important, and it's a high percentage shot for Taylor Wirtz. You don't mind if she misses a few, because eventually they'll start falling, and she always will provide that scoring punch. And hey, if Taylor Wirtz isn't hitting her 3-pointers, she can get downhill. Wirtz isn't the only shooter on this Manly side as well. Never underestimate Alex Delaney, who just does everything it takes to win for the Sea Eagles side. Huge shout out to Alex Delaney. Has been a long time Sea Eagle, really the heart and soul of this side. Even when she was away for a few games during the season, Manly did win, which is just a testament to their side. But having Alex Delaney in their side, much like Taylor Wirtz, just turns them into that championship winning kind of team. Don't forget as well, Sari Mowbray on their team has hit 44 threes this year. Sari, a sniper, a sharpshooter, one of the many guns in the arsenal for the Manly Ring of Sea Eagles. So when Manly hitting their threes, they're one of the best teams in the league. Now it's finally time to talk about Zara Russell having an incredible season. Really the first or second option on their offense, Zara Russell. I wouldn't say came out of nowhere, because that's not really fair for Centre of Excellence players. It's just a matter of the time before these young players get their opportunity. But for Zara Russell, has stood head and shoulders above the rest all season. She can get the threes up, she can get them going, and she's quite tall as well. So for Zara Russell, combining that height with that quick trigger, it's a deadly combination, because on shorter defenders, she can just pop them up, and plays with a lot of confidence for a player who is so young. She's fearless. And we're talking about this earlier with Taylor Wirtz. Zara Russell also has that similar skill set where if chased off the 3-point line, she can get downhill and put pressure on the defense. Issy Smith as well, who we mentioned in our previous segment, can get the threes up as well. But a young gun, Olivia Oleshnowitz. We've seen this young gun, who I still think is only about 16 or 17, I think they're saying on Scott Game. That's just incredible, the amount of confidence she plays with, and has been starting in the second half of the season for the Centre of Excellence. A sharp shooter, had a great game last game against Manly, so they're going to definitely have her in the scouting report as a player you've got to close down on. Again, in that game against North, she hit some timely threes. I think only had 10 points in the game, but those threes were clutch and exactly when they're needed. You can get that sometimes. So at a crucial moment in the game where your team's maybe slowing down a bit, or you want to force the issue with the other team, just having a well-timed three from a dead-eye shooter is very helpful, and I think Olivia provides that for the Centre of Excellence. So we had 10 threes in the last game against Manly. Of course, they were missing Fagan, who is an improved 3-point shooter. Hit some 2 big threes against North's Bears, 2 demoralising threes against the North's Bears in the preliminary final. So all these players can stretch the floor, but it's a thing that happens in grand finals. Things tighten up a little bit, your eyes a little off, maybe the pressure of the moment gets to you from the 3-point line. You can't rely on the three. And the last thing to consider with the shooting as well is both these sides are very good at rotating out to 3-point shooters as well. Just last week, the Manly Ring of Sea Eagles held Newcastle to 6-28, which is 21% shooting from 3-point land. Meanwhile, for the Centre of Excellence, we were saying this a little earlier, they managed to hold North to 4 of 30 from 3-point land. So both these sides are great perimeter defenders as well. It's going to be a very juicy matchup. Can't wait to see this one out at Penrith. Manly fans, get out to this game. I'm sure they will. The nest has been buzzing this year. Centre of Excellence fans, or just basketball fans in general, I'm sure you're going to enjoy this game as well. 2 interesting styles of play for both these sides. Similar in a way. So we'll see if the strengths cancel each other out or whether both teams bring the best out in each other. It's going to be a ripper matchup. Thank you for watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify. Don't forget to subscribe and like and share this around. Put a lot of effort into these videos. And again, sorry about the audio quality. But until then, we'll see you at the next NBL1 East game, the grand final. Catch you out there in Penrith. Thanks for tuning in.